Hey Guitar fam, what's going on? Chelsea and Lillian are out for a walk, so I figured I'd film a quick video. This time we're going to take a look at the Eagles song, Peaceful, Easy Feeling, and this is going to be an easy version of this song. Well, the difference between the easy version of the song and the regular version of the song aren't that different for the rhythm guitar parts, but we're just going to be focusing on using a handful of chords and one strumming pattern to get through the entire song. I will show you some ways to dress this up to play more of what he's playing as far as the strumming patterns go, but there's not a whole lot of variations. It's just inconsistent throughout the song, so I figured just doing one strumming pattern will help you get into the song and be able to play it all the way through faster. Now, we do have the chord charts and jam track for you, the full jam track available on guitarfam.com, so make sure to visit there and download those resources. And if you haven't yet, create your complimentary account on guitarfam.com. That way, if you're struggling with any of the individual elements, like clean chords, switching between chords, strumming, timing, that you have to be able to, to get through this song, you'll be able to go through the first module of all of our premium courses with a complimentary account. And if you want to upgrade to a premium account, we now have monthly and annual membership options where you'll have access to everything on the entire site. All right, what are we getting ourselves into here? Peaceful, Easy Feeling is not too difficult of a song. It's in the key of E major. I think there are only 5 chords, and that's the first thing we need to do as we go through this to learn how to play the song. Is just go through the chords. It's in the key of E, like I said, and that's E major. If we want to go through the key of E, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A major, B major, C sharp minor, and D sharp diminished. And all the chords used here are diatonic, so they all fit the key, which is great. But there is one new voicing that I wasn't familiar with, or that I've never used for an F sharp minor. It's not a bar chord, so you can get away with this entire song without playing any bar chords too. Let's just take these chords in the order in which they appear in the song. So E major, it's the first thing you need to know. Okay. Now, if you don't know an E sus4, all you have to do is put a regular E major on, and then put your pinky down, leave everything where it is, put your pinky down on the 2nd fret of the D string, and that'll give you an E sus4. Okay, so and just hit all 6 strings on that. Next chord is just a regular A major. Make sure to leave the low E string out when you play that. If you keep hitting that low E string, work on your aim to leave it out. Next is a B7. Again, here I'm leaving the low E string out. My middle finger is kind of brushing up against it and muting it in case I accidentally hit it. And the last chord is I'm gonna call it an F sharp minor 7 add 11. The way I like to play this is just to think about an E chord, because that's the chord that precedes this F sharp minor 7 add 11 chord most of the time, if not all the time throughout the song. So play that. If you move that up 2 frets, and then move your index finger back 1 fret and replace these 2 fingers with your 3rd and 4th fingers. So it's kind of like I'm making an E chord with these 3 fingers, moving it up 2 frets, and then just moving my index finger back 1 fret, because that's the 3rd of the chord. It needs to be lowered. And then I'm reaching over here with my thumb and grabbing the low E string on the 2nd fret for that F sharp. And the high B and E strings are open. So that's what gives you that nice dreamy minor 7 add 11 sound. And you don't have to do the thumb on the bottom. If that's too tough for you, don't worry about that. Just play these 3 notes, and that'll be fine to cover the song. All right, I wanted to pare this down to one main strumming pattern. That way you can just use it for the entire song to get through it and have fun playing along. I'll show you this, and then we'll learn. I'll throw in a couple of other strumming patterns that you could use here and there throughout this video that are kind of more representative of what's in the song too. But the main strumming pattern you need to learn is just down, 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 up, down, up. And it's quarter, quarter, and 4/8. So down, 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 up, down, up. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So I would really work on that on its own first, because this is a little bit quicker of a tempo. It's 143 beats per minute, so you're going to be going. So it's important to work on that on its own, so you don't have to struggle between thinking about the chord changes and the strumming patterns. Separating the challenges here is going to be important to be able to get to play through the whole song. But as soon as you have that down, you're good to go to start going through the different parts. All right, let's look at the intro. It's just an E major for 1 measure, then an E sus4 for 1 measure. And you do that 4 times for the intro at the beginning of the song. It's 2, it's 3, And one thing that I should mention here that I'm doing to kind of dress the strumming pattern up is on the 1s and the 3s, I'm playing the lower strings, just, you know, the bottom 2 or 3 strings. And then on the 2s and the 4s, I'm playing the top, you know, 3 to 5 strings, just to get that kind of kick snare sound. And if you need help with strumming or timing, you should go check out the Strumming Doctor course on the Guitar Fam site. That's a really nice concentrated course for getting better at strumming and timing. Anyway, so 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. So if you need to stop here and work on getting that coordination down, this is a great time to do that. If you already have that, let's just keep moving on. So 4 times at the beginning for the intro, and then you get into the verse. And every chord in the verse has at least 1 measure. So you don't have a lot of fast chord changes, which is nice. You have an E for 1 measure. Then you have an A for 1 measure. And then back to an E and an A again. More time. And then the last 2 measures of this phrase for the verse are just a B7. So you play B7 for 2 measures. Okay, that's the main progression for the verse. And you're going to see some repeat signs there at the end of measure 10. And that just tells you to play that whole chord progression twice. And this is the same exact thing for each verse in the song. There's one little tiny variation on verse 3, but overall, every verse is the same. At least the chord progression is a little bit different rhythm on verse 3. But let me play the entire verse for you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. E7, back to the E, B7. Okay, and one thing that helps me on that E to A change over and over again is my index finger stays on the G string as I scoot up to the A, and I play the A like this just to make switching between the E and the A a little bit easier. So my index finger ends up being kind of my pivot point or my anchor point. It makes it a lot easier to change back and forth between the E and A chord accurately. All right, next up is the chorus, and the first chorus has one little tiny difference as far as the chord progression goes, but overall they're pretty much the same chorus. 1, 2, 3, all the way through the song. So let's just learn the main chord progression. I'll show you where the difference is. You start off with, and I get a peaceful, and start on an A for 2 measures. And then an E for 2 measures. Then an A for 2 more measures. And here's where you go to an F sharp minor. 7 add 11 for 1 measure. And then a B7 for 1 measure. And feel free to use just a regular F sharp minor chord if you want to do a bar chord. And then go to a B7. And that's kind of halfway through the chorus there. So I would really work on that maybe first, just those, it's a little bit more than halfway through, but I'll work on that little chunk first. And then go to an E for 1 measure. Then an F sharp minor. 1 measure, and then A for 1 measure, and then B7 for 1 measure. And then you go do a re-intro here and go back to E sus4, E sus4 twice. So we'll get to that in a second. Let me just play through the entire chorus for you. And really, all this is making sure that you have the chords down, the individual chords down, and then you can transition between them while doing the strumming pattern, right? The main thing here is if you're having trouble getting to a certain chord, isolate that chord first and make sure, so for example, this F sharp minor 7 out of 11, make sure you can go to that right on its own with no trouble. And then you start incorporating whatever chord is before that. So like an A to an F sharp minor 7, right? And just flip back and forth between those 2 chords outside the context of the whole progression until you're sure you can do that with any trouble spot. So let me play the whole chorus for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and once you reach that part, you go back to the re-intro. On the ground. Again. And this time we just do it twice instead of 4 times. All right, verse 2 is exactly like verse 1. So just play the verse again and then head into chorus 2. There's only one difference on chorus 2 from chorus 1. You just have that first F sharp minor that you have. You don't have that this time, so you just gotta skip it. You go for A. Go straight to a B7 for 2 measures. E, F sharp minor, A, B7. Okay, so that's the only difference. So instead of going in measure 39 and 40, instead of going F sharp minor and then a B7, you just have 2 measures of B7. And after that, after you play that chorus, you do the re-intro again. So just E for a measure, E sus4 for a measure, and do that twice. All right, the guitar solo is what's coming up next, and that is just another verse and another chorus. So just play through a verse and the chorus just like you did for verse 2 and chorus 2. Okay, at the end of the solo, when you start getting to the E, F sharp minor, A, B7, next measure you just hit an E and let it ring out for a whole note. And this is the beginning of verse 3, so I get this feeling of me. And then the next measure is just an A on a whole note. And that's the only difference between verse 2 and verse 3 is you have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then after that, you ramp it back up to the normal strumming pattern again. Okay. So that's verse 3. Just continue like you normally would for a verse, and then you go to chorus 3, which is the exact same thing as chorus 2. Now, when you get to the end of chorus 2, because I'm all ready to, when you do that last little progression, E, F sharp minor 7, A, B, you end up playing 6 times over and over again at the end, just to the outro of the song. And that's what gets you from the last chorus 3 all the way to the outro of the song. So you just keep looping that progression. Again. Just keep doing it. That's twice. So you do it 4 more times, and on the 6th time when you get to that B7, playing E with a whole note at the end, and that gets you to the end of the song. Now, if you want to get a little fancier with the strumming and kind of match what he's doing on the recording a little more, you feel free to do that. He's just playing around with the 16th notes, so instead of just going, he may put some I think I said 16 notes, I meant 8 notes. He may put some 8 notes on beat 2 as well, right? Or he may like really simplify 1, 2, 3, 4, have the 8 notes just on the 4. The main strumming pattern that's a little bit different would be on the intro and the re-intros throughout the entire song. So it's more something like this. Okay, so something like that, and it's pretty inconsistent. So I just wanted you to be aware of it. Give it a listen. And what I end up doing is just kind of mimicking what he does and just going with a feel. And it's probably different every time I play it. But that's kind of the beauty of it, just having this going the whole time. If you have this going to 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you can just choose to dig in when you want to with this strumming pattern. Or you can just do the main strumming pattern that we did. Or you can get more fancy with it. And the main thing there is just those upstrokes on the end. So just playing around with the strumming pattern like that. It's kind of randomizing it to fit the feel of the song as you're playing along with either the jam track or the original recording. It's very good practice. And if you need some help getting your basic core strumming skills, again, the Strumming Doctor has a lot of exercises and it walks you through, and it gets you to the point where you can kind of improvise your own strumming patterns based on the feel of the song. Okay, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below what other songs you'd like to see here on the YouTube channel, whether it's easy songs, you know, just regular songs, guitar solos, fingerstyle stuff, anything like that. And if you haven't already, go to guitarfam.com and create your complimentary account. You'll get access to the first module of all of our premium courses. And if you want to access the entire site, we now have monthly and annual membership options. It's a great place to go if you want to learn more about guitar, grow as a musician, and belong.